Well, I've laid down the first coats of the olive drab too. I've had a little bit of problem in places, but overall it's not too bad. But you can, I don't know if you can see on the video, but there's a large, well, huge difference in colour. See, can you see that? So the only thing is I've underestimated, I think, on the paint a bit. I've got a feeling I'm going to need another can. So I'll have to look into that. But I'll keep going as long as the paint lasts and see how it looks. But the finish is definitely a lot better with the aerosols than the original paint colour. Now I've resprayed the front bumper, and all I did was mask off the letters. I know it's not perfect, but I don't think it's going to really notice too much where I just mask them off and let it's a slightly different green. And I'm going to do the same with the rear, and I've sprayed the rope up, and I might just change the colour a little bit by painting it by hand. But it was easier just to spray it in one lump. I'll tell you one thing though, the circle's still there, but a new one's got to go over, but it weren't too bad. The problem was these side letters. I wish I'd have masked them and done it the same way, because the paint wouldn't go onto them and they went raised, so I had to literally sand the paint back, sand the letters off to get that right. But I can tell you, if you're going to do this, 2 cans of paint is not going to be enough. I've already used a whole can just and a bit doing the bonnet and the main part of the body, so you can take it from there. Give it a good coat. I'm now going to leave it until tomorrow so it can cure well, but I found out you can resecure the bonnet. And that's remember I said the black bracket, can you see it? You can fit that in separately, so when you take the dash off and the windscreen, that's one part. So this way the bonnet is connected and the screen should still hopefully fit in. Well, that's what I'm hoping. We could do a test. So if we put the bonnet up, see where I'm coming from, you can hook the screen back in. Then put the bonnet down. Well, actually you don't even have to have the bonnet up, it will go past. Then you can fit the dashboard piece on, just push it down, clip the windscreen up, and then get that into place. Now I wasn't happy with the decals my friend sent me, because if you can just about see that, that is huge. And I don't think it's going to look right, so I've tried to remask the original as best I can. It's not perfect on the outer curve there, but it's took an hour to get this far. So I'm now going to blast it very lightly with matte white and see how it goes. Well, it's not coming out perfect, but that's the best I can get it, the style back to the original. So I'm going to leave it like that now before I make it any worse. All I've got to do is try and re-add the side numbers from that decal set. But I would recommend is mask up paint. What I recommend is paint round the numbers if you're doing whatever colour you're doing by hand, and then when they're fully dry after a couple of days, mask them off to area like a rectangle and spray over the whole lot to get it as near colour as possible. So that's my recommendation. Like I said, I should have left the star there and masked the original star. Might have been a lot easier than trying to mask onto the shadow of what was left behind. But it's not too bad, but I'm going to call it a day on that before I make it any worse. Now I've come to a problem. I've given up with the water slide stickers, because normally they will stick to paint, but they won't stick to this sort of paint. So it's a foul. So I'm going to have to find some way to get the numbers. Unless you've got some spray stencils, don't even attempt to get rid of the original. Paint them roughly round as near as possible, mask a rectangle over them, and then blast over the whole colour, because basically I don't know what to do, because I don't want to start spending out money on solvents that supposedly help to make it stick when I can't even guarantee them to work. So yeah, there was literally zero adhesion, and I've never known that with water slide decals before. You know, it just dried and it was just sliding around on the surface. So that's a weird one. So I'm going to put it back together and continue just working on with the green, and then I'll see if I can pick up just some ordinary plastic letters and go from there. A bit easier of a masking job. I've done the screen. I've just got to do the mirror and give it a scuff. Now, I was going to show you screwing the windscreen back on, but I failed to record it. What you do is lift the bonnet and pop the screen in just on the mounts here. Put the bonnet down and lay the screen down, and then you put the top panel, the dash, on, and then from underneath you put in 4 screws, 2 each end, and that pulls that all together. And then when you want to refit the steering, because the steering can be unscrewed for the top, when you go to refit that, you just push it up and in like so, and then the panel fits over it, and then you can reconnect all the steering, and then the steering wheel, as there's a nut inside the wheel, you can just put it on and twist it and tighten it. So it's not hard to work on, but like I said, the base of the steering is got to go through there when you assemble, and then you can fit on the little arm and reconnect the servo, which is one of the things I've got to do. But it's looking better. I've painted up the crates roughly so they look a bit more like a wooden box.